Good day. Welcome to Todd Gallagher Weekly. Yes, for 1 week and 1 week only. We have changed the name of our long-running television show here at the Valley Vision Studios. I am Mike Lane, joined by Todd Gallagher in his final Rec Weekly, Todd Gallagher Weekly, and we have two very, very busy guests.
That's right.
Former Freiburg Rec Director Dick Cody and former Conway Parks and Rec Director John Eastman, now Town Manager, and they have joined us for a special two-part adventure here. We're gonna break this up into two segments, two 30-minute segments, where we're gonna kind of talk about the life of Todd Gallagher at the Conway Rec, and he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. Some fun stories about where this show started and recreation in general. And so we're really happy that both Dick and Johnny could join Todd and myself this week. But before we get into that, just want to make a couple of quick announcements, and those are on our normal programming information is we are coming up to April vacation, which means that our early bird fee for summer camp is fast approaching. So if you want to save some money, make sure you register and get out and take care of that. We also have T-ball, which will be starting the week after April vacation. So make sure you're paying attention to your newsletter and information there. Follow the app, our new Team Reach app for softball and rookie softball, and the schedules that we will have over vacation. Megan has done a really nice job with that app to make it easier for parents to communicate with us. And then make sure you're checking out the Teen Center. They have a couple of trips, including paintball, and Todd will be going over to Fun Spot with Robbie.
Fun Spot final,
Yeah.
that's going to be it. Last day, we're going to get out of the office, take that trip. Should be a lot of fun. Get down to see if we can win some stuffed animals and some mugs and cool things like that as a going away present.
Yep. So funny. So when we set this up, I will tell this. It's funny that Todd's gone with the black turtleneck, because I actually, as a joke, because Todd loves his hockey jerseys, I almost grabbed 3 Bruins jerseys out of my closet to have me, Johnny, and Dick wear those today. And what did I walk into the office? You're wearing your Blackhawks jersey.
Yep.
And I was like kicking myself that I didn't do that, Todd. So.
Well, I got told by Bill that it has a little bit of green in it, and if I wear the green with the backdrop, it's going to be like a hole in the middle of my chest, and it didn't really look good. So I opted out. I didn't do that. But yeah, that would have been a great, finale, final thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a way to go out. It's awesome. Good.
So Todd does officially retire here next week, next Friday. So I'm headed on vacation next week. So we wanted to go down this memory lane. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to an open discussion here, because Rec Weekly, or Todd Gallagher Weekly as this week, started how many years ago, Johnny? I'm going to put you and Dick on the spot here.
We were talking about that before we went on the air. Somewhere around, I want to say 95, probably the beginning of 96. So about 30 years ago. I know that the station has had many station managers. Bill Edmonds has been, I say, with us, with the town, with Rec Weekly for almost that amount of time. And they were looking for, when Valley Vision came out as a public, government channel, they were looking for shows, and we were talking before you got here. Now, we came up with the idea, I don't know, we just came up with the idea of Rec Weekly. We talked with Dick and even the late Kim Perkins, and we came up with Rec Weekly and just decided we had no idea what we were doing. Is that, we'll
Thank
do
God.
it. Now,
if we did, we wouldn't.
I told Bill Edmonds we did outlast. Rec Weekly is the longest running show, and Mike. And first of all, Todd, congratulations. I'm super happy. Thank you, Mike, for inviting me, and I know Dick probably feels the same. But
absolutely,
I am surprised, but I'm very thankful and happy that Rec Weekly did outlast the famous show, The Art of Victorious Flux.
Yes.
And I'm not really sure what that was. I think it was a painting show.
It was a painting show, I believe. Yeah, they would show you how to paint. Of course, if you never paint at home, it went on very long.
Or paint by numbers.
They did start it. And I remember the first awards banquet that we had. I got to MC that up at top of Horse Feathers Restaurant. We gave out all the prizes and awards, and they got the longest running show by a week or however many.
Over us, yeah.
But you did come back to the office one day after a selectmen's meeting and said, hey, Valley Vision is out there. We got to do a show. Okay, what are we going to do? I don't know, but we got to do a show. Let's come up with an idea. And we did. And we sat at the panel that first day, and it was dry. It was god-awful. I hope there's never a film of it, but 4 of us sitting there talking. It wasn't even a discussion. It was like, okay, we have winter programs. And I remember Kim Perkins, God rest his soul, was given the scores of the intramural basketball games at the North County Community Center. And he said, red team 5, black team 3, blue team 9, green team 4. And that was it. I was like, well, okay, we got 49 minutes to kill now on the round.
Chris Berman had nothing on him.
Oh,
did he?
no. And I mean, Jonathan Bliss up there as well. I mean, we know that Bill Evans is the face of Valley Vision. I think Jonathan was like the kneecap of Valley Vision more.
Michael English?
Yeah, and Michael, oh my gosh, yeah, Doug Poor.
Doug Poor, yes.
There were some characters back there. And
He's on a deserted island like Wilson, because he always wanted to go. He always was going on tropical vacations.
That's right. That's right. That's right. They also led to some real funny moments that we may or may not get into here, but great stories about filming the show. As we all know, the infamous Bloody Nose episode, the infamous. Dick wasn't on site, but we had the very, very busy Barbie doll, a few other things.
The Celtics version.
The Celtics version, yeah.
The G.I. Joe
Athletic,
one,
had to be
yes.
athletic,
So for those maybe younger viewers of the show, Dick, I'll put you on the spot. Where did because I've heard it for so many years, where did the very busy recreation kind of saying come from?
You know, I really can't say how that started. It's just that Todd would do his thing, and then John would do his.
I would
thing,
ask
and
Dick.
then
I would ask Dick what's going on in Freiburg.
And I said, well, first of all, we're
as you
very
know,
busy.
John.
And I started that, and that became our signature saying. And these guys kept reminding me every week. They were looking for me to say, we're very busy in Freiburg. And I think they would have been disappointed hadn't I said that just every week.
Yeah, it was a tagline,
Yeah,
everyone had one. All the TV greats have their tagline, so that was Dick's.
And Dick's son, Steve Cody, every time we always call it, we get the band back together for the hockey tournament. There's Steve Cody, myself, Todd, and Jeff McCullen, and Steve will say, today we are going to be very, very busy.
Yeah.
So it's classic, and that's I didn't want to.
Well, I would have been disappointed hadn't I met these guys on the street, and they didn't say, "Are you really busy still in Friday?" Every time. So that stayed with me until today. We're still saying it.
And you were very busy. You had to cut into your schedule to come and do this, which we thank you.
Very busy schedule.
Right.
Busy schedule.
I was telling these guys I ran into you a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
At the State Line store.
Yeah.
You were staring in amazement at my brother's antique car.
Yeah, I was.
We had a discussion about how old that was, which
Yeah.
is about the same age as the show, if I'm not mistaken, or probably a little older. And I said that maybe in the future there might be some retrospective down the road. I didn't think
Yeah.
it was going to happen this fast. But so I knew you had to get your schedule and docket set. And Stevie, very, very nicely, I got a lot of great comments and thank yous and congratulations on the Facebook post. But he did write in there, enjoy your retirement, Todd. I understand things could be very, very busy in retirement. So, it's there.
We had to work this in our schedule,
Yeah.
in our busy schedule, because after all, this is Todd Gallagher, fixture here in the Valley, and we're going to miss. Even the Freiburg people are going to miss Todd Gallagher. Even the Freiburg people.
I still got to live there, so I hope they don't miss me that much.
Well, I think it's really, for those of you who don't know, too, maybe have had young kids come through the rec in the last several years, Mr. Cody here is really, Johnny, the reason we have biddy programs. They were the ones who came
absolutely.
and, we ran T-ball, obviously, but the biddy basketball program was the Cody from their minds, and they ran it for several years, and then we kind of looked at it and we're like, well, this works so well, why don't we do it for soccer? And it kind of has built, and it's continued to build, and is just one of the most popular programs. So if you're in a biddy program out there, you have Mr. Cody and his family to thank for that, because it was a wonderful idea, and they started it. And a lot of the drills that you ran those first years when I was watching you and supervising, we're still doing. So
It was amazing because when we started, of course, Lisa, Steve's wife, and Steve, we all participated in that program.
Yes, you did.
In fact, we even had the hockey coach step on the floor with us after a period of time, and he was doing basketball with us. So
That's where he learned it, because he didn't know it before.
And so Mike joined us, and it was a great opportunity for me to come back for a few years and be with my granddaughter,
That's right. That's right.
Liz, and my son Steve, and it was a great opportunity. I enjoyed the heck out of coming every Saturday morning for that program.
Yeah, it's a gem, and we're certainly lucky to have it. So, so let's go back. So you talk about the first show. So how does the show build over the first say 6 months? Are you doing it every single week? Is it kind of a different time? As far as what people expected?
Well, as I recall, as I said, we were working out of the DECA store at Kennett High School, and I don't think we really had a set schedule. Jonathan would call and say, "Can we film today? So we were kind of jumping around. We didn't have this regularly scheduled time. So
let's back up for a second. When you say DECA store at Kennett High School, we're talking the old Kennett High School, which the building we're now in.
Yes, that is correct. Remember,
right.
everything
where
is
was
based
that?
on 31 years ago.
The DECA store was right near the Professional Development Center.
Okay.
You know, those windows are, they had that room before they had the corridor.
Yep.
It was kind of a dead end there. And it was an actual classroom. They had a DECA, they called it the DECA store.
Yep.
And
kids learned
and
marketing
Todd's
and
right,
stuff.
it was kind of every couple of weeks, but after a couple of weeks, it ended up being Todd, myself, and Dick. And, all kidding aside, I think that it was instrumental in moving forward both of our recreation agendas to the public so that they could see that.
No
and
question.
Dick and I and Todd, and we were like the Three Stooges, but it was we used to say, and I believe this because we always on a member of the Carroll County Rec Departments. Well, Freiburg's not in Carroll County; they're in Oxford County in Maine. But if you look at it, the biggest ally that I believe, and I'll let Todd speak for Todd, was in recreation was Freiburg.
Oh.
Conway did not need, we were big enough, we didn't need other towns to participate in back. And as a matter of fact, there were times that even in the Carroll County basketball tournament, because Dick and I was there, where we would go, and I won't mention, but there was always some shenanigans at the basketball tournament with other teams getting out of hand. And I remember Carrie App when she was just a sixth grader, and I won't say the town because it doesn't matter, but people weren't nice. And I remember Dick and I had that where we said, we've got to do more things together because Freiburg has class, Conway has class. And I'm not saying none of the other towns did. I'm just saying that we were so close that it was just like, it just felt good that we would offer up a show to talk about his kids, we would talk about our kids, and just promoting recreation.
Yeah, exactly, promoting the programs.
It opened up a whole new thing for Freiburg because I couldn't believe the numbers of people that would meet me on the street and talk about Recreation Weekly. I didn't realize the numbers of people that were watching that show. But to get our message across to Freiburg and the surrounding towns, that just opened the door in a big way.
Well, and it's true because we would go into a grocery store or something and someone would come up to us and go, "John and Todd, hey, no, I don't know who they are." They knew us because we were on TV and knew our names. And they talked to us like we were long-lost buddies, which was great. But we would have no idea of knowing these people, but it was all because of the Valley Vision show and getting that information out. And once we got comfortable with it, we started to have a lot of fun with it. The silliness, the absurd things that came in. I mean, one of my favorite things is to have these two at the end go, "Can't believe you did that. Can't believe you said that." Like the day we were in Hammerford and we're being interviewed, and I reached over and I picked up an apple, I took a bite out of it, and then I put it back on the... They're talking, and I'm eating the apple and putting it back. Just absurd, silly stuff, but it was easy to do because it was funny, and people seemed to like it and got a kick out of it. And you got someone's attention with that, and they would talk about that the next couple of days.
And stepping out of the studio every once in a while. We did one of the shows on top of Jockey Cap.
That's right.
We did one of the shows at Echo Lake, around a picnic table, that kind of thing.
That's right.
But watching Valley Vision with their equipment going up the side of the mountain there at Jockey Cap, that was amazing.
Absolutely. We all prepared that day.
But we also, too, I think it was instrumental, too. And, Dick's humble, but, you had Dick and you had Brad Littlefield. and many other people, but Dick and Brad and the Army Corps of Engineers that put the Field of Dreams together. And I look back, and we were talking before we went on air, I said, where's 30-some years gone? Because that facility, and I'm happy to see that Rick Buzzell has continued, the tradition of keeping that facility the way it is and even expanding on it, obviously with the new indoor facility. Who would have ever thought when you're putting basketballs over your shoulder and going to Mollyocket? But we did some shows down there in the parking lot after the Army Corps, if you remember. There was no grass, but they had come in and they had the Brad Littlefield rock and the engineers, the Army Corps of Engineers with the red paint, I think, and then it was all flat ground, but it was awesome to see the progression of it going up, and that the fact that a little small town in Freiburg, Maine, they weren't just in obscurity. You could talk about it, and people actually saw it and said, "Hey, I know where that place is." And I think we kind of fed off each other to promote each other's programs because we did so much together, and I think it's still true today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's continued with our partnership with Freiburg, and so much that we do together, not only for programming but for fundraising efforts and the softball tournament that we run together to keep that tradition. And it's just we never have issues. It's always just the kids, and Todd can obviously speak to that in basketball. But so looking back at this, obviously Rec Weekly kind of coincides, Todd, pretty closely to when you started working at the Rec. Correct?
Oh yes, yeah.
So what year are we talking here that you got the phone call?
Still think it was 96, 95 and 96.
I think you got the phone call in 95. I think you started full-time in 96.
I was at the Kennett High football game, standing on the sidelines. Johnny came up and said, "Well, what are you doing?" I was working at John Fuller at the time. And he says, "What are you going to do this winter?" And I said, "I'm going to go back to Bartlett and coach the middle school basketball team." He says, "Well, why don't you come down to the Rec? We got intramurals, I got refereeing, and you don't have to travel up there every morning and whatnot." So I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. So I popped in and immediately started by refereeing intramural basketball, boys and girls. After 15 minutes of you coaching the travel team, you quit and gave me that job. Then I did the adults men's basketball and practice on Saturday morning. So as I started as a volunteer and worked 38 consecutive days, had no Christmas vacation, and I'm like, well, it's a great job. This is going to really work into something. And then as that went along, Jim Somerville, who was the town manager at the time, and Johnny was just getting the program going, was looking for an assistant. There was talk that, okay, we could hire somebody. I happened to be in the right place to where they said, maybe if you want to work for the summer and stick it out and see how it goes. So I worked full-time in the summer for part-time pay. Jim knew how to pinch a penny and get 2 cents back when he did that. It was good. Congratulations, good for him. He saved the town. And then fell into that. Great selectman support back at that time by Kennett and a few others that were for the rec program. We got involved, and then they hired the assistant. I happened to be in the right place. And then your infamous story about cutting the trees out in front of the building, where we now actually had a field long enough to play half a football game. That was one of those political things that stirred. You can't cut the trees at the old antique building, which had been condemned twice, by the way, at that point. And then now that's where the rec department moved in, so the field got built, and it gets me to think about your field being built and where you started. Do you remember your office at the bottom of the Legion Hall?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
You remember the Hornet got stirred down there when they shut you down because you didn't have a second egress?
Absolutely.
And I made a visit to the town meeting, one of the meetings, selectmen's meetings, and voiced our opinion, and we got in a hornet's nest with some Freiburg people down there, but you got your second egress.
Well, we had been there for so long. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden the state says, you need a second egress. You need a second way out of here. I says, You've inspected us for how many years, and you've never mentioned that. Now all of a sudden,
that was
we
crazy.
need a second egress to leave the building. So it was all those little things that happened along the way.
And I remember you still had you were a pool shark because you kept the pool table
Yeah,
down
the pool
there just so
tables,
you
yeah.
could beat Vinny Osgood. Am I correct when he was a kid?
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
I know Vince always, I hope Vince sees this, but I mean, those are the things. I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I can remember, him telling, well, I've got a pool game with Vince after school.
Yes,
you
yes.
know, Jimmy Osgood's son.
Certain ones would come in every day and play pool. A lot of the, we had a young lady that used to come in that was unbelievable. She used to go to the restaurants with her mother every night, and while the mother was visiting with her friends, she would play pool against, and she was outstanding. So we had a few sharpshooters that would come in the afternoon from the dorm.
Yeah.
And one kid was from Panama, and he was good. He was good. But he kept bragging, and so when this young lady came in, I says, I got a guy for you to play. So I called him and I says, this young lady needs someone to play against. She's a girl. Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Yes, she is. Well, he came back later. Gee, she is good. She was very good. Probably the best female pool player we ever had there at the rec department. And she works in the valley here today. I meet up with her every once in a while, and we tell those stories. Yep. She was great, yeah.
And just to think back to that, where you started down there, and then as we talked about the Field of Dreams being built, and now as Rick continued with the building, ourselves, we went to finally getting to move to a really nice facility. Quickly, got to tell your side of that story, Mike. When it was time to move, you were probably the only one who was kind of dead set against it, because things were really good where we were. We had programs run, and everything was under control, and the change, which you were not a fan of at that time, or many times not a fan of, period, that's okay. But we went down there, and things have gone so well. You're like, you admitted, I remember you saying, boy, I was skeptical at first, but I'm so glad we did this, and look what has come of it. Back when all of this started, we were first time out on the field doing these things. You know, the biggest thing was your Christmas tournament, basketball tournament. We would go down and play, and the greatest rule ever, the championship game was one final game, whether you had a loss or not, and everybody loved it. And we get in and used it. It was great. And then we brought it into Carroll County, and Wolfboro seceded from the union because
They did. They did.
They didn't like that rule, so they.
I had it out, and it's we've laughed about it
Drop
a couple
the
of
name.
times, but well, Jeb Bradley, who became a U.S. congressman, and then when he got out of that, he came back to New Hampshire to work in the legislature, and he was the Senate president for all of New Hampshire, and I had he had forgotten about that, but we had this is 30 years ago, we had quite an argument out in the hallway of which is now the Kennett Middle School gym, and it was quite intense. But I do have to just expound when you're talking about Mike with that. If you remember when we were getting ready to move down to the new rec, Mike, myself, and you, Todd, I'm positive you were there. I think that we had a meeting with Tom Holmes, and Mike says, and he was right, and he was skeptical because he was the assistant, and I don't know, Mike, if you remember, Tom, he says, we don't even have a phone, Tom. And Tom says, I don't care if you have to send smoke signals. You sure as hell are going to go down there and open that building
On
up.
the 24th of June.
Yes. Weren't you there?
Yes, I was, because I was as angry as he was.
But you had just come back to, you were now full-time, but it was, like you said,
Right.
full circle, assistant team coordinator. And
I was not happy at all.
it all worked out, and Tom and I still laugh about that. But at the time, we kind of looked at each other and was like, okay. But I mean, Mike, you were very adamant about that.
I was, and it was. There were a lot of things that went into it, and I will admit I was dead wrong. And I think originally some of the meetings that we sat in on, we didn't totally know that the partnership was going to work with the school. True. And how that was going to look. And but as we got kind of closer, you could see it was going to happen, but the timing of it was just awful. Like, we were literally in training week, 1 week before camp starts when we made that move. Half the stuff had been, I don't know how many trips, Todd, you took in the van, the old van, down to the...
One too many.
Hauling stuff in the van down there. And we're like, I remember we were sitting and Johnny's like, well, let's go talk to Tom. And it was one of John's great things is he would always, let us speak to, and he wouldn't dictate things like that. And I remember sitting in the office, and After Tom said that, I don't care if
You said we have no ability to communicate. He said, I don't care if you have to communicate smoke signals.
And I said, kind of looked at each other. I
Wow.
guess this meeting's over. So,
Yeah, it was part of-
but thankfully did, because it has been a great move. And I think, again, Rec Weekly, with all that you guys did, coinciding, because I remember going to old Carroll County meetings in the old Freiburg
Yeah,
building,
yeah.
and it was like, if we brought someone into that building today, they'd be like, "This is your facility,"
It was always in November, right, Dick?
Yeah.
Remember, we
Well,
always had the fall meeting.
Let's not forget that when we started out, I started out at the town office. They gave me a desk in the corner of the selectman's office.
Oh, my Lord.
And of course, the ladies that ran the town office did not like that, because all the kids would come in for sign-ups in the afternoon. It was loud, it was boisterous, it was this was not the place for kids to congregate to sign up for
Exactly.
our programs. Harry True gave me a call and offered me an office in the girls' gym at Freiburg Academy. I said, Harry, I'll take it. So we moved. He cleaned out the back room upstairs in the gym where all the chairs and tables were, and created an office for me. And I was there a year and a half at Freiburg Academy.
Wow.
That's where we started. And then the American Legion came along and gave the Legion Hall to the town, and they wanted someone in there.
Yep.
And of course they came to see me and said, we
Did you
want you to
choose
move.
downstairs, Dick, because you wanted to leave the upstairs for the functional meeting room space?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
There was still a lot of groups meeting, the garden clubs and over meals and
Sure. Yeah.
Lions clubs. And so upstairs was for the public. Downstairs was Vic Rollins came along. He worked for Brad Littlefield at the time and made that office for me downstairs. And we were there for a number of years until the new building. So we but actually I started out a year and a half at Freiburg Academy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
some of the offices that we've all been in, over the years. I mean, Todd, I
Oh.
believe your office, you didn't have a window, right? When you got moved into the.
I was in the old, like a storage, I had a door.
Yeah.
I had a second egress, but I had no window. There's nothing, didn't know where I was going to. And in front of the second egress was the soda machine outside. So even if you opened the door, it was half blocked by the soda
Amazing
machine.
how we all started.
It's okay,
Amazing.
we didn't care. Actually had to have a window cut in my door.
Yeah.
With Brian Sawyer's arm caught in the soda
Yeah,
machine.
would you-
Right?
yeah.
Hey, remember that when he got?
Johnny's like, you trying to get a soda? No. Okay.
I hope Brian sees this because he's a dad now. But yeah, one day we hear screaming, and there's Brian Sawyer. He's trying because there was some technique. Supposedly you could reach into the soda machine and borrow one. We'll say that. And Brian got his arm caught in there, and he's
Check
screaming.
inventory.
He's screaming. It was like the kid who got his tongue and stuck to the flagpole kind of thing. We
Yeah.
got it out, and,
Yeah.
and I don't think he got the soda, but.
That building itself, you and I started in what's called your office, would be the main office.
Yes.
I shared that with you, and then eventually moved into the office off the gym, which was that storage closet, which eventually became your office when we switched. And then we constructed the little Lenore office in the lobby. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
That
Yes.
had the window.
Jim Roselle built that.
Jim built a lot of things at the rec, as I recall.
Yeah.
And the greatest infamous story about that I love is that we had the first family fun night back at the old rec, and you and I went shopping that day, and you're like, we're going to invite the parents tonight. How many hamburgers do you think we'll need? I said, I don't know. You're like, well, I don't want to get too many. Let's start with 100. Let's get 100. You think that's enough? I said, I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. Well, I don't want to have too many left over. All right, so let's get 100. We buy 100. We get there, and at 5 minutes of 5, the parking lot is filled. There's like 300 people in the parking
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
And now stress has set in because now he's like, we need to get more burgers. Well, where? There they are. I'm going to do that. So he's calling Allie Wagner to go to the house to get Lenore's stash of burgers out of her freezer, thaw them out on the way there, I don't know, the hood of the car or whatever. We got to get more buns thawed out. Mike's inside, and at this point now, his stress level has gone through the roof because we should have took care of it before, but he's in trying to get condiments, and he opens the refrigerator, and you had on a pair of flip-flops and shorts, and a thing of mustard comes out, hits the floor, and explodes like Hiroshima. I mean, it goes everywhere. And he's got a yellow foot, looks like he's got malaria. It's all up his leg and everything. So now he's not happy, and it's this point where I find humor and everything, and I just think it's funny as all get out. I'm just going to laugh about it. That did not sit well as we try to continue the evening, which turned out to be another huge success. But those little incidents happened for the last 22 years, 30 years basically, but in the time I was here, 20 years, those things went all the time. And that's what made this job comical and bearable. It had to happen. I mean, as we all sit here, we all know we've had discussions and different views on things and disagreements or agreements, whatever, but the bottom line is everything always got better at the end because we learned from what we did.
There's so many stories over the years. So many stories over the years. Yeah.
And we're going to get into some more of those stories, but we have cruised through our first 30 minutes here. So we're going to take a break, or we're going to wrap up this first part of Todd Gallagher Weekly and come back next week when we have our second edition of Todd Gallagher Weekly here on Valley Vision.